I kind of see it as when someone comes into the picture, into your life, and kind of tries and gets stuff out of you.
I would never be able to think that an adult would be able to look into the eyes of a young person and be able to say such horrendous, misleading lies when they knew what was going to happen to them.
It could be that there's like a 14-year-old young person and a sort of 25, 30-year-old adult or older.
I kept going missing from home, and I don't mean just for a couple of days, I mean months on end. Lowest point I reached was actually being sexually abused.
Can we talk about this?
Then when you get somebody that comes in and goes, yeah, it happened to me, this is what it feels like. When you get their feelings, that's when you can like go, so how would I feel if that happened to me?
I was like playing online games, getting to talking to random people, and clicked with one person who then turned out to be like some 40-year-old man.
Giving you gifts like, oh, here's this mobile phone, like, say if you haven't got one, so you can keep in contact with these people that are grooming you.
Phones are obviously quite a key thing because that's how those responsible for exploiting keep in touch with the people they're looking to exploit, and in some ways that's how they can isolate them.
They end up going maybe to another city. They don't have any idea where they're going. They get to an unknown place. And sometimes what young people have told us is that at those flats there are numbers of older males that are actually waiting for them there.
It's quite shocking. I knew things like that were happening, but I suppose I didn't think it was that close to her. Because it seems so far away, but it isn't.
In many cases it's a very well thought out plan, unfortunately. It's a very sinister plan, but it is a plan.
I find it really difficult to understand how on earth someone would set out to manipulate someone in such a deliberate, pre-planned way in order to then just abuse another person, especially someone who's that young.
Because I was so young, I didn't know what trust were back then. It's not just a small thing. You can't just trust someone within 5 minutes of knowing them. And that's obviously my mistake, what I did.
Initially, if it's just a stranger off the street, I wouldn't say I don't trust them, but I don't put all my trust in them. It's just anybody. I'm not going to tell them things or go places with them because I don't know who they are.
Obviously, trust is something amazing, but it's also something that if you trust someone too much, if you give them too much of yourself, then you can end up falling on your face and just losing everything.
The world of the internet is a really risky place for kids because most things aren't monitored, and that's mainly where it all happens.
Well, I think people are naturally more wary online, but then it's easier to get to know someone online in the sense that you can never get to know someone online, so it's easier to strike up a conversation and you can't really see who you're talking to, and they might have a profile picture, but it might be fake, it might be real.
Facebook is a really, really bad thing to go on, I'd say, from my experience with Facebook. I think a lot of people think, oh, they're your friends on Facebook, but really it's full of arguments, people what backstab you, people what think, you might think you're talking to a lad on there, what same age as you. You could go and meet and they could be like 35-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So really, it's not really trusting Facebook.
There's a bit of a see who can get the most friends kind of culture, and it does worry me a bit, like the amount of strangers connecting with each other on the internet.
Facebook can really get out of hand. You could think you're talking to somebody you know, they could be really, really respecting of a Facebook, but before you know it, you could give them your name, your address, details about you, and then before you know it, you've got people knocking on your door who you don't know. And it's not just yourself you're putting in danger, but if there's any other younger siblings in the house, you're putting them at danger too.
I think that boys might be sort of allowed to do things at an earlier age than girls, like walk to the end of like the next street or something earlier than his younger sister it might be. So, and like that's probably an assumption that a boy can look after himself better or something, which is probably not entirely true.
I think lads just do it impulsively compared to lasses. I think you've got to work. If in their eyes you'll have to work a lady up to do it. Instead of a lad, if someone just asks, oh yeah, like, send me a picture, they're like, oh, go on then.
Boys could probably be more secretive.
Right.
I think it's really important that young people aren't secretive about their relationships. Like any relationship they should explain with, or share with friends, should share with parents.
It happens to both. It happens to boys and girls. I think what it is with the situation now is a lot of girls have come forward about the situation, and I think what it is boys are kind of a bit more scared. I won't say scared, but really like wary to ever say what they're going through or not because of how their friends would judge them or anything like that. Really, so yeah, it does happen to both boys and girls.
Only add people on Facebook and social networking sites that you know.
I think maybe it's important to test saying no.
I just wanted to say, just be careful who you make friends with. Don't walk alone on your own.
If anything weird happened, I'd just be like, nah, wait, I don't want any of this, bye. Just end it there.
If you say no to them, does that person who's supposedly your friend then, you know, if they get frustrated at the fact that you're saying no, it's probably because they have some ulterior motive.
I think you've just got to trust yourself to, at the end of the day, do what's responsible and do what's safe.
Don't just jump into a car with any old stranger, because you could end up with the point of being not be able to see family again.
I think just hearing the stories of places that you know, to think that those kind of terrible things that really in my mind are so distant to have actually happened in places that I know, in areas that I've been.
Any young person, any boy, any girl could be walking down the streets and they could get groomed, they could get roped into it. Oh, how are you? Are you alright? Or do you need a lift home, like if it's late at night? And obviously somebody might think, well, wait a minute, he's offering me for a lift, he's being kind, do you know what I mean? But obviously they're not, and that's how they get you into that situation.